Host CT Jags, alongside me. Well, once again, welcome to Teal Time Radio. I'm your host CT Jags, drinking a beer.
And I'm Chrissy.
And what a show it was.
Oh, that South Beach Toe, what a great show.
You know, we have a lot of talk about South Beach Toe and whatnot.
Yep. Congratulations to Chrissy on having her baby, the daughter, and, you know, we got a lot of wonderful things else to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, having a beautiful little baby boy.
Yep, she had a beautiful baby boy. He's cute as anything.
Which brings me to I've got to ask, before we even get into the, meats and potatoes.
Yeah.
I've got to ask this question.
What's the question?
I feel like we're on the Maury show.
Why
Who is
that?
the father
of the baby?
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's Perez, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. When she popped that question to the father, the only ones in the room were, Robbie and J Money, or Jerome, not Michael.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, J Money. I don't know where we got calling you Michael from. But anyways.
But they were in the room. I mean, that's no disrespect to J Money, because J Money said he got himself a
girl,
wonderful lady and whatnot, and he's trying to impress her, and I think that's awfully cool.
That is cool.
Especially for the flirty is and whatnot.
It really is. I think it's just that what she had to talk to him about was private, and she didn't want to say it in front of them. There's sometimes you want to tell your mother or your father certain things, not even in front of your significant other, your brother, your sister, doesn't matter.
And the whole thing about it, it's like an hour and a half later, so people have actually seen the show.
Yep.
And if they didn't, they're probably not watching us right now, but are listening to us right now.
Yep.
But the whole thing about it is this. I think she's just getting sick of it.
Chrissy's getting sick of the whole thing with the business?
Yeah, I think she's just realizing, I'm a mother now, and I can't deal with the stress no more. Maybe
she just decided that, you know what? She needs to stay home and take care of the baby while he's young and just enjoy him. Because, my son was young, our son to us, but out to them. I stayed home with him. I was very lucky to be able to stay home with him. So, maybe she figures it that way from a mother's point of view.
Yeah, she needs at least a few months to, take her off, clear her head, and decide what she wants to do.
And not only that, but you know what? You're so sleep deprived when the baby's first born and first comes home from the hospital, and you got to heal from having the baby, and then you got to, get used to some kind of a schedule. So it's a tough situation.
Exactly. So anyway, we watched the show. Fantastic show as usual.
Always.
I don't know if I like it more than Lizard Lick. I'm a huge. We're both huge.
Definitely huge Lizard Lick fans. But
regardless.
But regardless, they're still up there. It's a really good show.
Yeah, they are. And the thing that was cracking me up was these two kids that were.
Teenage kids.
Yeah, they were just wannabes.
Yeah.
They were just rich kids trying to hold baseball bats.
And thinking they were tough and they were on the streets. And they were hard. Well, they learned their lesson. They're not so hard. Let's see. Who was the first one they tried to take out?
Bernice.
First, Bernice. Now, you're not messing with Bernice because you can't get past Bernice. She just threw him in the shopping cart and she pushed him down the street. It was funny.
And the reason she did that was
because he went to attack her.
No.
What was it?
It was because they tried to steal her truck.
Oh, you're right. What am I thinking?
And then caused an accident with the truck because the other car backed right into
her. Yep. Or him, I mean. Yeah, I mean, who are these punk kids? What is their situation, Who are you going around stealing trucks? And then they tried stealing, who was it truck next? Jerome's?
No, Eddie's.
Oh, Eddie, that's right. And you don't mess with Eddie either. Eddie's no joke.
Yeah, even though he had the big old
teddy bear on the front seat next to him.
The big old stuffed animal
cute.
and whatnot.
Well, you know what? Maybe Eddie has kids of his own. So when, Christy had her baby, I was calling her Chrissy. It's Christy, actually. But anyways, when Christy had her baby, maybe it brought back memories of when his kids were born, or nieces and nephews,
Well, he's got
And he figured it'd be nice to bring, no, not like that. But what I'm saying is, maybe it brought back memories, and he said, well, you know what, gee, I know my old lady liked when people brought our baby stuff, so maybe I'll bring Christy something special. He's like family to them, so you know what?
But he's got an old lady. I wasn't trying to say it like that. What I was trying to say, and no, it's not Eddie's baby.
I didn't say it was Eddie's baby. No, Eddie's got an old lady. But what I'm saying is, since he loves kids so much, and he loves Christy and their family so much, because they're all like one big happy family.
I understand that, and what I was trying to say is because he's got an old lady and he probably buys her stuff like that, if you'd let me finish.
Probably. He looks like a romantic.
Then he's used to doing things like that.
Exactly.
So, even though he's tough on the outer shell, when he needs to be, he
can be soft, yeah.
Well, not soft, but more of a sweetheart.
Well, I mean soft as far as to his lady. Because a guy will be tough on the outside to other people, but when it comes to their lady or their children, they're a little softer.
Speaking of, old ladies, Jerome was trying to go find his old lady, and he got stuck doing a tow.
Yep.
And then he had to deal with some parrot people.
Parrot heads, he was calling them.
The parrot heads going to the Jimmy Buffett concert.
Yeah, it says Jimmy Buffett. He was saying Jimmy Buffett. I thought that was really cool, though. Jerome, that was cool.
That was really cool.
I got a kick out of the way he said that. I just thought it was cute.
If there's anyone listening, they want to, call in or whatnot, you're welcome to 917-889-7873. I'm not going to keep on repeating the number,
Exactly. Yeah, but anyways, so then let me see. After that, then they came down. Then the woman comes down to the tow place. Remember?
Hmm.
What was next? No.
Well, it doesn't matter what's next.
We got the parrot heads.
Because we're talking about good parts of the show.
Yeah. Oh, the best part was when the mother came down and said that, one of your tow truck drivers was beat up my son or something.
Yeah, that was the little punk kid.
Yep. And then Bernice goes, "What are you talking about? Beat up your son? Your son tried to steal my truck." Except she used a lot of profanity, which I'm not using. Anyways, so it was really funny. And then they come into the yard, sneaking in the yard, and lo and behold, Bernice sees them and says, "Oh no, here we go again." So she goes out and catches him, smacks the daylights out of one little punk and sends him on his way, and takes the little punk son into the shop and shows the mother, "Is this your little punk son? He was trying to get on our yard and steal something again, and steal a truck."
Yeah, and the mother's gonna whoop his ass.
Oh yeah, she grounded his butt.
So.
Who knows? Rich kids, they get away with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but she ain't gonna like paying for the other car that she don't know.
She gotta pay for a car and she gotta pay for a truck.
No, it's the car and the car. It's the Mercedes that got towed, and the car that backed into the truck.
Yeah, and her truck.
Well, yeah.
She's got damage to her truck now too.
You're right.
Yeah.
I am wrong.
So, but they had to
First time for everything.
Yeah. But the mother, I think, did pay some money because I saw her put some money in the slot, so maybe she did pay for it already. I don't know, but, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Now, as far as we go back from, the business-wise, right now, I know you have a different approach, and you can talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, the clear cut, yeah.
Clear clut, huh? Oh, boy.
One of them clear clut moments. I'll drink to that. All right, so right now the clear cut winner at the beginning of this competition between, Robbie Jr. and Perez, I hate to say it, is Perez.
Because Perez is dressing for the moment. I mean, not the moment, sorry. Dressing to impress. That's what I meant.
For the occasion to, show he's a boss. He's doing things that bosses need to do, get contracts and whatnot.
But, you know what? This place is still not getting run the way it should. So, I don't know what's going to happen.
But I figured your take on it would be that, Robbie was in the hospital with his sister.
Yeah, he was, but he should have been there as a boss, because when you have a business, even when somebody's in the hospital, sometimes you just can't get away, because my father owns his own business, and even when I was in the hospital, having my son, our son, he couldn't get there right away. I mean, he came and saw me, I think, just before I got out of the hospital, after having him, because he works so much. And you know what? He don't want to leave his business to just anybody. So I don't blame my father. I love you, Dad. I'm glad you came. I'm glad to see you. Go back and get your, do your business. You got to do what you got to do, because I understand that. So I understand from that point of view. But business is business, and pleasure, or whatever you want to call it. Not pleasure, but other things come secondary.
Yeah, exactly.
He should have been there, because if he had been there through the whole chaos, it would have never happened, and their business would have ran a little smoother.
That is very true. A very true point there, and I agree. If Robbie had been where he was supposed to be, and just seeing the baby, spend a little time, but you don't spend all that time. Once again, it's Robbie's lazy tendencies. We talked about this last week.
He's got to really get on the ball. Come on, Robbie, you got to get on the ball, buddy. You want to prove your material for being a boss, and you got to get on the ball. I'm not saying anything against you going to visit your sister. Yes, that's nice. You went to see her, but you got a business to clean up. Your business is starting to have problems. And, I don't want to see them have any real serious issues where they can't get it fixed.
Exactly. I'd like to know who hired the jokester that was taking, Christy's place for a little while.
They had this young black girl who was running it, and I couldn't figure out who hired her. First of all, she had no idea what she was doing. She could not run the business.
And
she couldn't handle it. Yeah, she couldn't even handle the stress or anything. She did not know what to do. She's letting people in the office that don't belong in the office.
On her defense, she did stay there, I think she said, 23 hours.
Doesn't matter. When you're working, you don't let anybody, if they're told, you don't let anybody in the office, you don't let anybody in the office.
Yeah, because they could harm you or others. We've already seen this in past seasons with Christy.
Exactly. When I worked for the gas station, if my boss said don't let somebody into the specific area, I had to do what he said. I didn't let them in.
Yeah, there are no exceptions for a certain thing.
No. And that's where the girl made the fatal mistake. And then when she quit and left that nut girl in the office using the phone, who did not belong in there, what was that all about?
I don't know. That was very irresponsible.
That was very irresponsible on her part.
However, Bernice, cleared that up.
Thank God Bernice came when she did, and she said, "Get out of this office." She threw that girl right out.
Who are you?
Yeah, she said, "Who are you? Get out of this office." She picked the phone right out of the girl's hand and hung up on the person.
She don't care. Love Bernice. She's crazy.
I would have done the same thing. I would have said, "Excuse me, you don't belong on this phone," click, and I would have hung it up and said, "Now get your butt out of my office." If I was her, I don't blame Bernice.
Yeah.
She did the right thing.
Yeah, I don't blame. But the craziest moment of it was when the inspector came.
Yep.
They all thought he was going to be an inspector
and do an inspection.
They thought they were getting closed down because of the violation, because you don't let people
in the office, and somebody quit and left nobody in the office, and blah, blah, blah. So they thought, oh no, what are we going to do? We're going to get closed down. But
yeah, the inspector ends up, he needs a job, and he just got laid off
from his job. So he comes to Tremont looking for a job. Ooh.
And you know what? I think Robbie made the right decision. I understand that Bernice don't like him, but he does know everything about the area. He does know how to handle everything, and I'm sure he'd be a little more mature about, letting people in the office.
And a little more professional. Not only that, but God forbid, let's say he went back and got his job back as inspector. He might tend to be a little more lenient towards Tremont. Well, you know what? Tremont helped me out when I needed a job, so you know what? I'm going to help them out, and I'm going to help them try to get their whatever they need fixed, and I'm going to, by giving them a little extra time or whatever he can do.
Well, I mean, he might tell the other person, but it would be a conflict of interest if he, worked their case and they found out that he worked there at one time.
What are you going to do? You never know, though, Or he could somehow know, maybe he'll know the next inspector, and he'll say, yo, man, this is this and this is that, and, can't you give them a little extra time, I understand now that I've worked here, I understand what it's like to work at Tremont. Till you work here, you don't understand, you're just an inspector. But work here and you'll understand their point of view. I understand now. I've been in their shoes, see what I'm saying?
Exactly. Now, the things that I'm looking forward to, to know whose actually baby is it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep on, something is telling me it's not Perez's.
No.
Nothing against Christy. Awesome person.
She's an awesome person.
But I'm not
believing it.
I'm not feeling it.
I think she has a nice guy she met maybe somewhere, that maybe she was dating off air, and he just doesn't want to be shown on TV, maybe. But I just think it's funny. Why isn't the father at the hospital? It was only the first time we've seen her in the hospital, too, so.
Yeah, and if it was really Perez, why didn't he even stop by?
Why didn't he even go to the hospital and visit Christy and bring the baby a present? That's supposed to be his kid, if it is.
That's why I was wondering what the whole Eddie situation would bring into the big old. But no, that's just a joke.
No offense, Eddie, he's just joking.
That's just a joke.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's faithful to his wife and all that.
Oh,
or
yeah.
his girlfriend or whatever.
I'm sure he was just doing it as a nice gesture to them. Because like I said, everybody at Tremont, as much as we're joking around about it, guys, we know that everybody at Tremont's a bunch of oh boy, I can't speak tonight. I don't know what it is.
I'll drink to that.
Everybody at Tremont is one big happy family. And you all seem to help each other out, and I think that's really cool.
I still think it's Jerome's. Look at the baby's face, okay? Look at the baby's face and then tell me I understand the color, okay? But
that doesn't mean anything because you know what? I have, 1, 2, 3 different friends who are white and have children with a black man, okay? And all 3 of these children are light-skinned, so it doesn't mean anything.
But look at the baby's face. Anybody that's listening to the show, look at the baby's face. The baby looks a lot like Jerome's expression. It certainly does. No disrespect, Jerome, but that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing.
You know what? When my goddaughter was born, I believe she was very light-skinned. And my other friend, she had a baby, too, also. And she's white, and her husband is black. And her child is light-skinned. She's white.
But,
she's light-skinned.
But the whole thing is...
And she's, let's see. She's like 9 months old.
But that baby does not look a thing like Perez. Not a thing like Perez. I'm sorry. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. I mean, maybe when he gets a little older, we'll be able to really, really tell if they don't tell us by then, but I'm sure they will.
And maybe we're just getting this all mixed up because she was with Perez for a while, but I thought she mentioned that she had a thing with Perez.
I thought she said she was pregnant by Perez, too, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I mean, I could forget because that was a while ago.
Service says no. No way. No way, no how, no why, no...
Who knows?
No.
Maybe she has like I said, maybe she has a totally different guy that she met later on in the show that doesn't want to be part of the show. And maybe he doesn't want to be on camera.
I wonder, the things that I'm looking forward to, I wonder if Bernice and the inspector dude can get, can build like a relationship where they're like at least
able to get along.
Get along, or even maybe become like good friends and whatnot.
You know what's weird about that? I've had people in my past that I've met, and I started off not liking them. And it turned out that I ended up being good friends with those people. So you never know,
And if not, that's going to be some compelling
Oh,
TV.
my God, is it going to be?
So, other things, why, once again, isn't Eddie getting a shot
At being the boss.
Eddie seems the most mature. Even when the kids, were bothering him and whatnot.
He just grabbed the bat right out of the kid's hand.
Yeah, he could have easily beat the crap out. I mean, I know tow truck drivers aren't supposed to do that, but that's self-defense.
Yeah,
he could
have easily took the bat out of the kid's hand and hit the kid in the head with it. He didn't. He threw the bat in the truck.
And then I think he hit him
with the door. I thought that was funny.
Hey,
I like that.
It was his life was in jeopardy.
That's right.
Even though it probably wasn't with the kids, but still they were a nuisance.
No, because you never know. You don't know if there's other kids hanging around the corner.
Yeah, and you
could have guns, knives, any kind of weapon.
And you also don't know the other kid with the bat, because they both had bats.
Yep.
It's going to try to smash your
windshield. Yeah. He could have took that bat and just flung it and hit the windshield, and that glass would have went all in his face.
Oh, Eddie would have been pissed.
Eddie would have also been very badly hurt, or could have got killed because that bat could have gone through the windshield and hit Eddie in the head. And if it's got enough force and enough momentum, that could kill him.
But you know what? I didn't like how Perez was, still just thinking about himself, saying, well, if this all, when the inspector, was given the job and whatnot, well, if this all falls through, well, it's going to fall on Robbie's head and everything. That's not a professional way to act. I still would not give the company to either. I'm sorry.
I would give it to Bernice. Bernice has the business smarts, but only thing I don't like is the way sometimes Bernice talks. Like, she has that street moment. I don't know. I don't want to say that. She has a way of talking to people in the wrong way.
She has street mentality.
Yeah.
But
where she doesn't talk respectful sometimes when she should.
Well, she's a tow truck driver. She's not.
Yeah, but if she was an owner, she'd have to be totally different.
And I'm not saying that she wouldn't be a great.
No, we're not saying at all that she wouldn't do a great job.
A great job. The thing is, some people aren't meant to do that.
Right. Not only that, but we're looking at each person in the company and saying good and bad things about them. But Bernice has the smarts, I think, to run a company because she seems to know how to do it.
But the only one I see that logically that could do it is Eddie.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that's the one I see because this is the reason I believe, okay? One, you could say Jerome. Jerome's a heck of a person.
Yes, but Jerome's too busy thinking about the ladies.
Exactly. If the ladies wanted to go back there and it was like a super hot lady, he'd be hot. I'm sorry.
He'd be back there doing God knows what.
I mean, maybe he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
No, he probably wouldn't.
But
if he had to run the company, I don't think he would but you never know.
So I'll take him out of the equation. Okay?
Yeah.
Bernice, her whole attitude, I'm sorry.
Her mentality is just not something that you want when you have somebody running a business.
Not saying that she can't be.
No, not that she wouldn't make a good boss, but you have to know how to speak to people in a certain way at a certain time. Now, my boss when I worked at the tow company I worked at, it was a garage, and there was times when my boss's wife was real stern and strict with people, and there was other times where she was compassionate. And she knew when to use a compassionate and when to be stern with us.
You know what Bernice would probably do if she was offered the job or even, considered though? She'd be like, fool, I'm a tow truck driver.
I'm a tow truck driver, fool. Who you kidding? Bernice ain't doing that. I love Bernice, though. She's hysterical. No offense, Bernice, because you are cool.
So if you take her out of the equation and you automatically take Christy out of the equation, Even though I still think she can handle it, regardless of having a kid or not.
I do too. I think if it came down to it, Christy could either hire a nanny, or she can bring the baby down. Well, it's too loud down there for the baby, but she could always hire a nanny or have a family member watch the baby.
Exactly, and if Amy can run a business, so could Christy.
Yeah, and not only that, but you know what? Who's to say that maybe one of the guys' girlfriends or wives couldn't watch the baby for her during the day?
Yeah, exactly. But let's just for a moment take her out of the equation.
Okay.
Now Perez, he's all about himself. He's not a team player.
And he's a snake in the grass.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take him out of the equation.
I'd like to smack that boy in the mouth.
And I'm gonna say Robbie neither because he's just too immature. When it's time to get business done, he's worried about here. He's over there.
Yep, he's worried about here, there, and everywhere.
I'm not going to say he's a space cadet, but he's pretty out there.
Well, maybe, you know what, maybe he's ADHD and he just has trouble staying focused.
I don't know.
He needs to...
I don't know. He still has lazy tendencies.
Yeah, but you know what? No offense, Robbie, because you know what?
No, I'm not
we all have our things, and, sometimes it is hard for people to focus. We just mean that when it comes down to business, you've got to focus. Business is business. Fun is fun. And other things are other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Business always has to come first.
So out of everybody who's there, and I don't know how this inspector is because the inspector just started.
Right.
Okay, I'd go with Eddie.
Yeah, definitely.
If I was a father and I had to retire, I would go with Eddie.
All the way.
Because he's just, when he needs to become, I know he had problems in the past. I know he had a lot of, issues in the past. But the past is over with. This new Eddie has been calm.
Yep, and he's been doing what he's supposed to do.
Exactly. And
he's the only one that seems to be doing what they're supposed to.
And it wasn't...
Except for Christy because Christy had a baby.
And it wasn't Robbie originally who almost made, Tremont lose their business.
It was Perez.
It was Perez. And who found out about Perez? Eddie.
Yep. I'm sorry. Perez is a scumbag snake in the grass. I don't like him. I never have, and I never will. Especially once he did what he did to Tremont.
Well, we don't know him personally like that, but as far as the show, I don't like him.
I don't like him. I wouldn't want to know him. If I had the chance to know anybody in the show, I would want to know Bob Sr., because I think he's cool. He's cool as heck. I would want to meet J Money because I think he's cool too.
Well, you know what?
And Christy.
I'd like to meet Perez because I'm sure he's not that much of a
jerk.
I think it's part of just show.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Somebody's got to be the bad guy. Somebody's got to be the different person.
You have to understand, we have to understand too, that I'm not thinking of, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, you know what, a lot of these shows are scripted a little bit, because they have to make it more interesting. So maybe they script it for Eddie, for him to be more of a jerk, Perez. Maybe that's not what he's like in real life. I don't know.
We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said
90 seconds.
But the question of today, last week we gave, who would you like to be
the owner.
The owner. The question of today
is,
who do you think is Christy's
baby's father? Are we going to hear, Perez, you are not the father? Let's see.
And you can send your reply to TealTimeRadio@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from you.
Other than that, what's going on in our world? Working on some things.
Yes, we are. Working hard.
I'm not going to say exactly what. There may be big things in plans. I've got several different directions, that would all incorporate into the show at different times.
Very exciting.
Very exciting if they go through. If they fall through, the people can't say that we aren't trying.
Exactly.
And just to let anyone know that we've got mobile apps. Think of it. We're there. We're on the Double Twist. We're on the Stitcher. We're on the Zoom player. We're on the iTunes.
seconds.
We're on the Android.
Yes, we are.
You know, if anyone wants to donate to the show, can go on TillTimeRadio.com and click on the donation box.
Yep.
It sure would help us out.
It sure would. I mean, you don't have to donate. It's not anything we're making you do or we're begging you to do. It's just something you might want to do if you want to, you know? We don't care if you donate or not. We still just want you to enjoy the show.
No, I'm gonna switch. Gears for a moment, and I'm going to give you the air for a moment, and I'd like to know your reaction on what you've seen based on when you were watching TV on the destruction of tornadoes.
Oh my God, I watched that. It broke my heart. This one woman she had this big, beautiful home, and she lost it, and the guy on the news said all she could talk about was her cat, that she wanted her cat back and she'd be happy. Well, she got her cat back. But they still, to watch all that devastation, boy, it broke my heart. I felt so bad for those people.
So if you missed this show, you can go on Libsyn under Till Time Radio, and you'll see who would love Libsyn as well as we love Blog Talk.
Yes, we do.
You know, but you'll see that, you know, we did this show, you know, on, you know, it was also on Blog Talk. You could also look at it here. I forgot. But, you know, on the tornadoes. And now that you've got to witness, you know, through the news and whatnot, not through YouTube, but through the news, how devastating a tornado is.
It is devastating.
It's not a joke, a laughing matter like we explained yesterday.
People could lose everything, their homes, their families, their lives, everything. In the blink of an eye. I mean, people lost their kids. You know, people lost their mothers, their fathers, their brothers, their sisters. I mean, you got to feel how devastating it's got to be for them. And then on top of it, to lose their homes, that's so sad.
And we're also working on an Xbox parody, you know, joking around on the other systems and whatnot.
Yeah, it's just in fun, though.
It's pretty funny. We're still not 100% sure we're actually going to release it. We're going to look at it some more, listen to it a little more, and see if it...
And decide if that's what we want to do.
Yeah, because we're not trying to kill our, kill our station beforehand, because there are a lot of PlayStation owners. And
yeah, I mean, to all the PlayStation owners and the Wii, we're not really cutting on them. It's just all in fun. It's like if you guys went on and made fun of Xbox, you know? All in fun, no big deal.
Just for the record, I'm an Xbox enthusiastic.
I am an Xbox too.
I originally played, you know, PlayStation. I had 9 different PlayStation 2s, and that's why I don't mess with PlayStation anymore.
Yeah.
Too many disc read errors, in my opinion. But the whole thing about it is, even though I am avid Xbox, there is no way unless Xbox, Microsoft, if you're listening, just kidding. You know, unless Microsoft actually stole the Little Big Planet series or, you know, the Ratchet and Clanks or anything of that sort.
Yeah.
I don't see him ever, you know, jumping ship, and I don't think he's going to jump ship anyway. He's a PlayStation.
No, our son's a PlayStation fan. That's why I said, you know, if you hear the parody, if we happen to put it out, we want you to know it's just in fun. Even our son heard it, and like we said, he's an avid PlayStation fan. And even he laughed at the way we did it.
And he was thinking about how to come back with the...
Yeah, he was like, what can I come with a comeback for that?
Yeah. How could we make a video messing with the Xbox and whatnot?
Yeah, he wants to make one mess with the Xbox in all fairness, you know?
Yeah, and if he comes up with something, I'm cool with doing it. I'm cool with
me
doing
too.
it.
I think it'll be funny as anything.
You know, to show both sides and whatnot.
Yep.
And I really can't mess with Nintendo either because, I mean, even though they don't have a Wii U, they still play the Wii. My uncles and whatnot play the Wii regularly. Yep. They like their bowling and everything. And I think they should have never changed what they had. If you have something, don't break it.
Yep. Well, you know what? Not only that, but we have a neighbor whose son is 10, and he loves his Wii. He has the Xbox, the PlayStation, and the Wii. And you know what? He loves his Wii. Sometimes he plays Wii. Sometimes he'll play Xbox. Sometimes he'll play PlayStation, depending on what games he wants.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, the more systems you have, the better you have, because you get the best of, all the worlds.
Yeah.
If there's a certain game you want to play, but it's not available on your system, you just go
to your other system and play it.
You go to the other system and play, or in my case, I would just kick him off, and tell him come play mine, but that's a fair trade-off. It's not like saying he had nothing.
Or you know what? Or I mean, if we want to play something that's only Wii, we can go to my father-in-law's house and play it on his system.
Just to let you know some more things. We're being very professional right now. We're not, for the most part, we're not joking around and whatnot.
No.
We do apologize. We do have the AC running in the background, so if you hear that,
we're apologizing. It's kind of warm here.
That's not the most professional sounding, but one day when we own a studio, then we will have an AC in the other room and be like, all right, you need to use the AC, go over there.
Or there'll be AC throughout the whole building, so, central air, so we won't have to worry about that. And,
in the summertime, we are ecstatic. I think it comes out the end of next month. The Blue Nessie mic.
Yep.
We certainly want to, get our hands on that, where it's got the equalizer in case. I think some of the issues is sometimes my ADHD, which is no excuse, but I get a little loud.
He doesn't mean it, I mean, we all get a little loud sometimes.
It doesn't.
Not only that, but you know what? He's a very, I don't want to say emotional guy, but he's a very excitable person. When he gets real excited about something, his voice will go up.
Yeah.
It's just his excitement.
Just like the partnership with the NFL with Xbox. I was nuts.
I don't blame you, though.
And if you see me when there's a Jags game, I am
screaming and going crazy.
I don't care if the house is on fire. I'm watching the Jags, and that's how it is.
Don't bother me. I'm watching my Jags.
I've been watching them since they've been in existence, even though I haven't officially been in Jacksonville, per se.
That's okay. I'm sure you don't have to live in Jacksonville just to root for them. I'm sure they're just happy to have people rooting for them.
I mean, if we had the opportunity and the means to, we'd be out there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or maybe not in Jacksonville, but
somewhere nearby.
In the Florida area. Now, we may in the future get the means to. We do have an opportunity to go out that way. We don't know if that will make the best decision right at this point.
Right, yeah, exactly.
We're still thinking down south, the state that starts with a T.
Yep.
So,
can't wait. All our friends are there waiting for us and are very excited to have us come and, live down there.
Well, I grew up most of my adult life, and I get to see, I get to drive out to a Jags game, which is real nice.
That'll be exciting.
Being a rival and whatnot.
Yep.
And still gonna, rep the Jags. I don't care where I'm at. I'm still repping the Jags.
I don't care either.
Ain't nobody gonna run me out. I respect the college team, but I'm a diehard Jags fan. I'm not gonna change to that team just because living there. And I think that's just pointless. Not to say people out in Jacksonville shouldn't check out the Jags, because you definitely should.
Yeah. But not only that, but you know what? We're still going to root for, if we're at a game from the place where we're going, we're still going to root for their team. I mean, as long as they're not playing the Jags.
Well, if we're at a... Did you just hear what you just said?
No, in other words, if we're at a Titan game, we're going to root for the Titans as long as it's not playing against the Jags. Like if we're watching it on TV or something.
I'm not rooting for the Titans.
No, I don't mean that. But what I'm saying is we're not going to put them down as a team.
No, I'm not gonna
put them down. No, you're not gonna put them down.
Okay, I'm not going to.
We're in their state, and
I'm not going to hate them.
Exactly.
But I'm certainly not going to like them.
You're going to be respectful to them.
They are arch rivals.
Yes, but as long as they're not playing us, we've got nothing against them for that moment.
Vince Young, when he was out in Jacksonville, I kicked a mob bucket count of this. I was listening to it on the radio, on the Titan radio.
Right.
And I was in the, dining room because I was, promised to go home and, you know, had my DirecTV at home, was going to, you know, watch the rest of the game. But no, my boss had to be a total jerk and wouldn't let me off. But anyway, Vince Young ended the game by kneeling on the emblem of the Jaguar at the 50-yard line. When they won. I kicked that mop bucket. There was a whole thing on the floor. Everybody was
sure there
mad.
was water everywhere.
But I didn't
Who
care
cares if they were mad?
because I'm that emotional when it comes to the game.
Yep. You
and
know
for
what?
me to root for a rival, I won't do it.
Well, I don't mean root for them per se, hon. I just meant that, in other words, we won't disrespect them and talk bad about them.
Oh, I'm not gonna.
I won't
I'm
downgrade
not-
another team.
I'm crazy, but I'm not stupid.
Exactly.
I ain't trying to go in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That's
know.
like me sitting here and talking about the Jets and cutting on them. You kidding? My father would be mad. Let's see, my brothers would be mad.
No, I'm kind of jealous.
Your cousin's boyfriend would be mad because he's a Jets fan.
But I'm kind of you know, mad because they did get Geno.
I know.
I mean, I really don't care what about Geno's career per se. I mean, I'm still gonna watch him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
See how he throws
the,
and what kind of
yeah.
a player he is.
Yeah, I did say prior that I wouldn't because he's not a Jag, but when you fall, you know, in love with the player, you know, not like that. You should see the face she's giving me.
It just sounded funny. And I know he didn't mean it that way, but it just sounded funny.
You should see the face she's giving. She's like,
so I'm just messing with
she's like,
you.
honey, are you sure you're not telling me something?
No.
Are you trying to come out the closet? No, I'm not.
No, I know he's not. I know that's not true. I'm just teasing him. It was just funny the way you said that.
But when you start studying on a player, I think Geno's going to have a very impactful NFL career.
I mean, you never know, though. It could turn out that something could happen, and Geno could turn out to not be as good of a player as we thought he was going to be. Or he could turn out to be an excellent player.
That
we don't
would mean
know.
I was wrong, and I don't like to admit I'm wrong. I will admit I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's going to happen that way, but it could.
But I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what they're trying to build. I think they're building a great, you know, thing out in Jacksonville. Bold City Brigades, awesome. Teal Street Hooligans, awesome. Minor Threads Clothing, awesome. You know, very happy about the UK fans and, you know, Australian fans, like our friend Australian Jag and whatnot. I'm sure the people listening on the South Beach Toe are like, okay, but what about the Dolphins? I'll say one thing about the Dolphins. You have a great quarterback now compared to what you've had in the past. I wish we could throw you back Henny because I don't like Henny. I just don't. I think he is a terrible quarterback. If he ends up a starter and ends up doing well, I'll take that all back and be like,
you'll eat your words, in other words.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. No, I won't. You know me. I'll still say he's a bum. I'm sorry. I watched him ever since his Michigan days. I'm not impressed.
Well,
and anybody that's known me for like ever knows that, you know, I'm a UConn fan because, you know, out here in Connecticut and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I was also, you know, as far as college teams, a Michigan Wolverine fan. That's why I am ecstatic about Robinson. I've said, well, you know what, we don't have Geno. If we're going to do the Wildcat quarterback, hey, you got Robinson. If the other ones falter, hey, give him a shot. Ain't going to hurt. He had better stats than Michael Vick when he was in college.
Exactly.
So, you know, but anyway, we're on every night, Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m., we'll be talking about different things. We got exciting things in store, and we're just glad that people listen. Even if they don't bother to call in, it doesn't matter because even if 3 people listen, it's awesome.
It sure is.
You know, if more people listen, that's great. You know, our stats are saying we're way above where we should be.
Yep.
But we're not falling anytime soon.
No, I mean, our stats do all the talking and would tell anybody that would see our stats would be impressed.
So, I mean, for just starting, I think we're doing a phenomenal job. I really do. Okay, anyway, thank you for listening to Teal Time Radio. This is CT Jags.
God bless.
And Miss Chrissy, the beautiful Miss Chrissy. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Catch us tomorrow, 11 p.m. Take care. Just because you don't see something scheduled tonight